Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 24th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see our next plume of moisture out here across Pacific Ocean. It's heading our way. We're going to take a look at what is coming with that. What's going to go on here as we go through Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving Day, and we'll take a look at the extended forecast as always as we go through the video here this morning. So taking a look at the combination of Doppler radars, you can see there is a band of precipitation moving across some of the Washington coast. Pretty rainy day for some areas yesterday as well. And you can see some precipitation still kicking off across the Idaho Panhandle and on in through western Montana as we speak. Now, I wanted to show you a few things here first. This is average temperature departure from average for the month of November. The West is absolutely cooking here for the month of November. Hopefully that bodes well as we go in through the winter months and we get a bit of a flip-flop and we get cooler than normal at some point. I'd like to see some lower elevation snowfall. I like active weather and whatnot, but really the only portion in all of this area is Southern California, very small amounts of Los Angeles and Ventura County. But yeah, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, some of western Montana, just absolutely roasting for the month of November. And if we take a look at precipitation departure from average since January 1st, huge deficits here across some of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon coast as well. And this has big effects on places like that deal with agriculture, like the Yakima River Valley areas here. This is where they get their runoff here. And it's not been good over the last few years. You can see the last couple of years, percent of average precipitation for key areas that feed those reservoirs are between 50 and 70%, well below normal for some locations. And if we take a look at that same 2-year period, precipitation departure from average, again, huge precipitation deficits, over 20 inches, very common across a lot of the Washington, Oregon Cascades. Now, also, the reservoirs are not doing good out there. And a lot of times this has to do with when it comes, because last year the melt off came very early. And so the stream flows were poor coming down towards Yakima. And again, big agricultural area out there. So be careful who you get your information on with this stuff. And so far, it is early in the season, but the snow water equivalent not doing too good yet. It makes sense because we're pretty darn right warm. Although we do have some snowfall incoming here this week, and anything helps. But yeah, we're running a pretty good deficit here for the last couple of years. I just wanted to kind of point that out. Some bad information going on out there. Now, taking a look here at the European model, we're going to scroll through here as we go through the day today, and you see some rainfall off and on. Not an exceptionally strong system, a little bit of mountain snow, some mountain snows for the Rocky Mountains as well. And we scroll on in through the day on Tuesday. Well, this is Monday night. Now we're going through Tuesday morning. That next plume of moisture starts to impact Vancouver Island, the Washington coast as we go through Tuesday morning. And this has kind of been speeding up a little bit. It starts to throw some snowfall at the Cascades as you go through some portion of Tuesday morning. So things could get a bit dicey across some of the pass areas. Again, White Pass, Snoqualmie, Stevens Pass, back and forth. Got to watch out. You're going through Tuesday morning. Again, kind of speeding up that system. And Wednesday might end up being the best day for travel because when the snow falls, then the plows can get out there and clear it off for you back and forth on the day Wednesday. But you can see as we go through Tuesday afternoon, pretty good snowfall amounts across some of the Washington Cascades, including some of the pass areas. There's Tuesday evening, we go through Tuesday night, and we come off in towards Wednesday. At least the precipitation lets up a bit here. So maybe the best travel day is on the day Wednesday. Again, let the plows get out there and move some of that snow off the roadways. And also the Europeans been back and forth on just how much of this is going to get into the lower elevations of eastern Washington as well. In the meantime, we're getting a lot of precipitation here for places like some portions of western Oregon, western Washington. Get a warm frontal feature there as we go through Wednesday night. And then by the time we get towards Thanksgiving Day, looking like a bit of a blustery system here rolling in. A pretty good pressure gradient across some of the Puget Sound here as well. It's a fairly weak low, so we have to watch the track of this and just watch the pressure gradient here as we go on in through the day on Thursday. So again, we'll be watching, but a pretty good shot of precipitation coming over a period of a few days. And then we start to move some Arctic air across some of the Rocky Mountains, some of that trying to leak down into interior portions of British Columbia, and some of that probably seeping into eastern Washington, eastern Oregon as well. Kind of an early season cold snap there, but not atypical for this time of year. And if we take a look at 925 millibars, again, I want to kind of concentrate on that wind coming up there. There's the system right there. So again, we got to watch the track of that low, because even if it's a weak low pressure system there, it depends on the pressure gradient. That would bring some blustery conditions on Thanksgiving Day. So again, we'll be watching that closely. The North American model, let's see what it has to say about that. We're going to scroll all the way out towards that low pressure system. And again, fairly similar placement there. And again, we'll watch it. Now, 3-day excessive rainfall outlook. This would be again for the day on Wednesday, going on to Thursday morning. Your marginal risk there. We've got some decent amounts rolling across. I'll show you some of that here more in a moment. But I want to concentrate a little bit here on the cold air. So if we look at the European model, this is at 5,000 feet, and you can see that cold air on the move there, staying mainly east of the Rockies. A clip of it gets down into central portions of British Columbia there. Not a lot gets down into eastern Washington or Oregon on the European model, but I'm going to show you some other models here more in a moment. And if we look at the artificial intelligence, which has been the best performing model versus the GFS here on the right, and we scroll through that, and you can see that cold air, it does bring some of that into the interior of BC, and some of that does leak down into some of the Pacific Northwest, and the GFS continues to show that. But getting some decent model agreement actually between the artificial intelligence and the GFS kind of brings some confidence to what the artificial intelligence model is showing there. So that would bring some cooler air down into the region. We're not really looking at a big snowfall threat from that, but there is some chillier air that would be arriving with it. And if we look at the artificial intelligence, this is the parent temperature. So as we scroll on in through the next few days, you see nothing too crazy going on. And then that cooler air starts to move into the central portion of BC Saturday night. And then you can see some of that chillier air coming down across the region as we go towards Sunday and on in through the early portion of next week. It's not a big Arctic blast, but you'll definitely feel the temperature change with this cold air kind of moving across the area. Now, taking a look at the national blended models, we'll scroll out towards that time period. We're looking at daily 2-meter minimum temperature, and when you see the silver portions show up there, that means you're below freezing. So we go off into Saturday, Sunday, Monday. See how we cool down a bit here as we go through the early portion of next week. We'll continue to watch this model as well, but you can see some of that cooler weather kind of moving through here. Now, looking at accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. So this is for the Tuesday time period travel here. This is about what? That's about 10 a.m. Tuesday. The snow starts to fly a bit here across the Cascades. There's 11, noon, 1, 2, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Tuesday evening, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's midnight by the time you get towards Tuesday night. And then you notice the snow kind of tapers off there as you get towards Wednesday morning for some of the Cascades of Washington. So probably best if you can travel on Wednesday, let the plows get out there and do their job. And you can see by Wednesday morning, it does bring some snowfall. It continues to throttle this back and forth or toggle it back and forth on whether we're going to bring some of that wintry precip, some of that snow down towards I-90. Highway 2 is a bit further north, and then we scroll on in through Wednesday morning there, and then maybe a little bit more there on Thanksgiving, but that's for some more of the higher terrain. But Tuesday could be a fairly significant snow maker here for some of the passes, so you got to be careful if you're traveling back and forth on Tuesday. And if we look at the European model, you can kind of see that same artificial intelligence kind of shows that same snowfall coming in there on the day Tuesday as well and wrapping up by Wednesday morning. And we look off into the future a little bit more, and you can see as that cold snap kind of moves through there, it's not showing too much in the way of snowfall that's going to be that impactful here. It's kind of a moisture starved system as that cold air just kind of leaks in versus taking any kind of overwater trajectory, bringing better dynamics into the Pacific Northwest. Just not really happening on any of the model runs. And on the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, you can see the below normal across a lot of the west there as we go through December 3rd. There's the precipitation. And again, without that southwest flow, we kind of dry things out a little bit here. And then as we look off into the extended forecast, again, we're going to kind of look at this daily as long as this is showing. You can see as we go on in towards December and January, we do have that cooler than normal temperature showing up across Western Canada and a lot of the Pacific Northwest, kind of a La Nina flavor. And it continues to show that La Nina should be weakening, but a lot of times the atmosphere takes a long time to reflect what La Nina is showing. So if La Nina is in effect, it can kind of linger on in through the month of January or February upcoming there. But yeah, you can kind of see it. That's not a bad signal. And each individual model run continues to show this is the ensemble mean of it as well. And again, the heights out here across the Aleutian Islands, that is kind of a La Nina typical pattern there. And it continues to show that as we look through the extended forecast. And you see the below normal heights there across portions of Western Canada. And same thing for sea level pressure. Again, the ridge out here is what drives that north flow back down into the Pacific Northwest, cooler than normal. So that's what it's showing. Again, that's just kind of something fun and entertaining to look forward to as we go on into the winter months. Maybe we'll get some cooler air moving down in here at times. If I had to guess, probably flirt with cold air a time or two as we go on in through the winter months. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. And I will check you guys in the next forecast.